Good evening. This is the Finance Committee meeting, January 14th, 2015. Happy New Year, everybody. Should be an interesting year. Minutes from November 12th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Just a quick
Sir?
question, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman, if I might. I was not in attendance that evening, and in one of the articles under the IT update asked that Rick Villani and Paul Blevis, is that how it's pronounced?
Yep.
Come up with a dollar amount to get started with the update and then come to the January meeting with more information. I was just wondering, I didn't see it on the agenda, so,
It'll be at the next meeting.
okay, can we put that in the minutes, please, Diane, that we're still looking for that information? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right, a couple things on the agenda for tonight. Board of Health. I saw Kenny during the week, and he said that there are some good information they want to impart, thank you, to the committee and to the town on waste collection and a few other things. So Paul and Kenny are here.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to report this. We have some funds that we have been able to save out of our budget by renegotiating a couple of contracts and what we intend to do with some of the funds. I'd like to begin with the VNA contract, which you have a history of, but I will briefly touch on it. In 2014, the Board of Health realized that a lot of situations have changed. A decline in TB cases, the availability of a TB clinic at Milford Regional Center, and the opening of the Edward Kennedy Medical Walk-In Center. So we felt the need for all of the services that we were getting from the VNA at that time had diminished. So at that time, we were paying $67,090 through their contract. We looked at different options to that, and bottom line is that we felt they could still provide a good service to us, but at a reduced cost. So we renegotiated with them, and we got their contract down to $40,000, saving the town of Milford over $27,000. Now, we would like to use these funds, or part of these funds, to have a screening clinic for tuberculosis. We have many students coming into our schools that coming from areas that TB is prevalent there. And so we would like to work with the school department, the school nurses, the administration of the school, and see if we can set up a screening program. And we would use part of these funds for that purpose.
In this fiscal year? You're talking about this fiscal year funds or next?
Well, that's something.
Yeah, we want to talk to,
Yeah,
again, the
it's
school
just
department.
set up
We
the
haven't
meetings.
done that yet. That's our next step, is to meet with them and discuss what can be done and when and how urgent we need to do it.
Any questions from you guys? Go ahead.
Yeah. Congratulations on the savings, first off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, you know, the TB clinic, you know, given the growth of our population, certainly seems to be something that we need. I would endorse that, and, I mean, that's just good preventative medicine, and I just think it's a very good idea. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. One other thing, Philip, and the rest of the committee, what we were thinking of doing too, is there are some students that would be entering our schools with not the proper immunizations that they require as well. And that's something we'd like to look into too with the school department, to see how many students are we actually talking about. Because a lot of some new residents would come into town and through the federal government, some are, they would be exempt from getting the inoculations. And that's something that, from talking to parents and not only school committee members as well as the school personnel. There is a concern with that, and it could be because maybe they don't have a primary care, maybe because they don't have insurance. But something like that, we could provide a clinic with some extra savings for the, you know, the regular mandated immunizations that are required by law, and just have maybe 1 or 2 clinics to satisfy the needs of those who don't have them.
Yeah, again, it's very good care for the child or patient who does not have the immunizations, and it's really on the preventive side versus, you know, after. And
Right.
obviously, that's what you want to do.
And it would not only be, you know, helping the individual student, but also those who, the general population as well is what we're looking after too.
Exactly.
Right.
I love the idea. I mean, cutting from 67 to 40 is a good thing, as long as we don't lose services. Where I'm a little confused is the 27090. Do you want to apply that as a bucket towards other things?
That is in our budget right now.
And
for
Kenny, that's
nursing
where I'm
services.
stuck. Because
It's fine.
philosophically, I have a concern that if you take 27,000
Mm-hmm.
and you say, here you go find a way to spend it.
Oh, no, that's not our attitude at all. Let's look at the problem we have and what is it gonna cost to fix it?
Right.
We're not looking to
Yeah,
spend the
I'd-
27,000, that's why in my presentation, I said we would use part of these funds.
I'd be a lot happier and able to support this if you came back and said, okay, we need X dollars for childhood obesity, we need Y dollars for tobacco, program by, if it's a
Well,
programmatic approach.
No, those things are being taken care of by the VNA with our present contract.
But whatever it is,
Okay, but the screening is what we're talking about, screening for tuberculosis and other,
but again,
and
if you came back
inoculations.
with a budget on a programmatic basis,
Okay, we
I
can
think
do that.
I would feel a lot better saying, yeah, we're gonna support X dollars of the 27.
Right.
Cause then we know what we're voting on. It just,
Exactly.
it
We can-
worries me to throw 27 grand in a bucket, cause history will say at the end of the year, the bucket will be empty.
No,
You know,
not the history of the health board.
No,
You
but I'm
know,
saying
yeah,
in general,
no,
the bucket will be empty.
yeah, and too, Albert, it may not even be getting to that because let's say the inoculations that I was just talking about, those would be provided by the Department of Public Health, so wouldn't you have to be paying for them?
Polly, I'm not
Right.
questioning
No, we
anything
will-
you're
we
doing,
will
I'm just
gla-
saying, please, deal
Yeah,
us
you-
in.
you-
Once we talk to the school
Yeah, come up with a
administration,
programmatic
With some
budget.
sort of a budget.
Deal us
we
in.
will try to work out exactly what we intend to do.
You've got a
and
good
what it's
track
gonna
record with
cost.
the station and everything. We're not questioning you. I'm not questioning you. I'm just saying,
Yeah, we will
from a
come back.
philosophical point of view, before we budget people's money or spend them, we should know what we're voting on.
We will definitely come back, but understand this is already in our budget,
Understood,
okay?
but just
Yeah,
because it's
But not
there,
that-
you
yeah,
don't
we're
have to
not
spend
gonna-
it.
Right, exactly, we don't intend to.
Yeah, I mean, to Al's point, I mean, I think we'd like to see the detail. You can
Absolutely.
work through
Oh,
your
sure, no
subcommittee.
problem.
That's very healthy.
But that's all, but you're not there yet, you still have some other.
Oh, yeah, we
processes
want to
go
meet
through.
with people,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
maybe some hospitals.
Yeah, I'll.
Now,
Yeah, anytime you want to save 27 grand, I think you'll get a good reaction.
well, we'll get a better reaction from this one. We're gonna talk about the Wheelabrator
Yes, Chuck.
contract, we renegotiated.
Yeah, Kenny, Chuck had a question first.
Oh, I'm
Ken,
sorry.
These students, will they be identified, the ones that need these inoculations, or is it a voluntary thing?
That's to be worked out, I would say they will be identified, though,
As they're coming into the system?
yes.
They'll be identified that they
We'll
lack
s-
certain
do screening,
inoculations?
we'll do screening and determine, do they need to be inoculated, do they need to be screened for TB, that
This
type
will be
of
done
thing.
by the
but
VNA?
No,
screening?
this will have to negotiate, we'll try to use maybe school nurses,
Okay.
but that's yet to be determined. Okay.
General question. Jerry brought up a question, I think it's legit. I thought there was a minimum set of immunizations that you have to prove you've had
Right,
before you come
absolutely,
to
and
school.
there is.
Well, except
That's true.
some
That's true.
students are being, they're coming in without pre-registering, from what I understand, talking to school committee people. You know, they'll plan on X number of students that are pre-registered, and they come opening day, all of a sudden, there's 30, 35.
And they're brought into the school system even without immunization?
Some are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those that come from the detention centers that we
Yeah.
all heard about on TV and whatnot, those are inoculated.
Right.
They make sure that they are, but there's some,
Somebody shows up. September 2nd.
right.
Yeah.
I moved to Milford last
No.
week,
And
A
you
lot
got,
of them didn't even move to Milford. I'm living with my aunt who lives in Milford.
but now,
Now we gotta educate them.
that,
understood.
Yep.
But the immunizations.
yep, that would,
Those are the kids this program would cover?
that's what we're trying to cover, yes.
A lot of them don't have histories, no medical history documents that they bring
Right.
with them.
But that's an
I'll have
interesting
to be
question, because if I think I've been immunized, but I don't have any paperwork, what happens? Do you immunize them again?
It's something that,
Food for thought when you come back to us.
It's a
Yeah.
whole issue.
Now, the other report we'd like to give you is on our Wheelabrator renegotiated contract. I reviewed this tonight, and I have penned in some changes that I found discrepancies. So you'll notice that there is some pending. What it basically is we've had Wheelabrator back since 1987. The first contract expired, and then we renegotiated the second contract. The first contract started at $64 a ton, and when by the time 27 ended, we were up to $98 a ton. In 2006, we renegotiated another contract, and that gave us a 10-year option. So at the end of 10 years, if we wanted to, we could opt out of this contract. But we had to give them a 2-year notice. So in November of 24, that 2-year notice would have been January, this January, right, where we are now. So we did renegotiate a contract with them, and the first year in our budget, this year, we are gonna save $48,389. That's already money that we have in our budget. That will not be spent for anything else. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, and next year, our budget will be able to reduce by $106,000, and so on. You have the figures there for total savings for the 12 years that remain with this contract. We will save over $1,200,000.
Assuming the tonnage remains the same. Assuming the
assuming
tonnage.
it remains the same,
Yeah,
and
yes.
if anything, like, tonnage usually goes up. Right now, we're at 8,300. Throughout the years, it has gone up, so that could be even considered a larger savings. And not only that, but like I said, I think we're paying $75.66 a ton now. And to get that down to 64, 2 years before, in other words, the negotiation really should have, been, told to take place in 2017, because that would be the anniversary of the 10th year.
Yeah.
But they agreed to do
Right.
it as of
They
2015.
could have held us to this present contract until January of 2017, but we
Gonna get 2 extra years.
renegotiated that we were gonna get 2 extra years at this reduced.
This through the consortium, is this,
There was a consortium.
It was a consortium that we
like
all got
30
together and-
communities, City of Worcester, City of Newton. There were 8 of us, including Milford, that was on the negotiating.
We were the
team.
negotiating team, myself, Kenny, and 6 others.
of those towns, where are we from a tonnage point of view with
About
respect to?
third.
Huh?
We're about third. Worcester is first, Newton is second, and I believe we are third.
Yeah, we're up there, either 3rd or 4th, around there,
Really?
yeah.
That's interesting.
Mr. Chairman.
After that renewal after 10 years, is there any renegotiation on price on their end? Or can we continue with the $64
No,
the next time?
well, no, that will escalate.
As you can see,
If you look at the last sheet. First of all, we have the CPIU that kicks in, but we, again, a part of this contract says they only get 75% of what it is. So, like, if it's
Chris.
2%,
Yep.
they'll only get 1.5. So those figures are, the first set of figures as a contract as it stood back in November for the 12 and a half years that would be in effect. Yeah. It's on the,
It was on the last
It's
page.
on the last sheet.
Yeah, it'll be on the front sheet, too. It would tell exactly what the
adjustments.
agreement was. Like the tipping fee, was adjusted to $64 starting January 1st, 2015. And that will be good, Chris, until January 30th, 2016, without any cost of living increases or consumer price index and whatnot. Then on July 1st, 2016, it'll increase to $66 per ton, almost $10 less than what we're paying now. And then July 1st, 2017, that's when their consumer price index will kick in, but only at 75%, not at 100% like it was the previous contract.
So do they have a schedule for this for the second, I see it's renewable in 10 years. Is that schedule set, or do you find out about that?
That would be the end of this contract, and we would have to renegotiate a completely new contract.
This is the second
It was-
10-year.
Well, I see it's a 20-year with a 10-year.
Yeah, it started in 2007.
So 2027, I don't think I'll be
2027.
negotiating.
No, I don't think you really are.
Right. Then-
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe it's a little bit outside of this, and if you're not prepared to discuss, that's fine. But what steps are we taking to drive down the tonnage, or at best, keep it level?
It has been.
We're enforcing the recycling.
So the 8,300 you think will stand?
Right now, Bobby, on our last, for our December, for a calendar year
Oh, that goes.
of 2014, for
It
instance,
stood.
we're a little under 8,300,
Okay,
which was great. If you took a 10-year scan since the past 10 years until now, we've gone down every year.
really?
8,300 this past calendar year, or fiscal year, was the lowest we've been since the past 10 years, and
Applaud
now
you
it's
for
even
that.
lower.
Yeah.
It's even lower now.
So,
And that's because
so
some
the
of the
savings,
changes.
the savings would be, we realize would be even more.
Right,
If the
right.
decline continues.
Right.
Thank you.
That's because of some of the changes that the Board of Health instituted about over 4-family homes, more recycling,
Right.
et cetera, stuff that we had talked about over the last couple of years and that they've instituted.
job.
So, yeah. No, Al
Yeah,
was next.
Mr.
Al
Chairman.
was next.
Oh, okay.
Couple quick ones. Mark had asked you how we compare, and you said, excuse me, we're number 3. But I would imagine Worcester should be a little bit bigger than us.
Oh, they were the,
My
they were the
question
big
is,
impact.
per capita, do you know how we rate? Because really, to me, the true measurement is you got 28,000 people at the center of the universe. Per person, how do we rate on trash and on recycle compared to the consortium? If you don't know the numbers, it can
I think we're about, just from memory, from what I've done in the past, we're about 1,200 pounds per family per year.
But how does that compare to a family in the other 20?
Probably average. Probably, let's say Worcester County.
Yeah. well,
Probably
the 30
right,
towns,
probably
you-
right in the middle, or maybe a tad better. As of recycling, probably close to a 28% rate, close to a 30, maybe a little, maybe 30 or so, from, if my memory serves me right, of recycling rate.
Okay. The other thing is, love these rates, love that it's going down. It's nice to have Wheeler Brader for decades, but competitors don't come into this?
We looked at competitors.
That's what this negotiating team was all about.
That's why. That's gonna ask the same question.
Well, no, but that's,
Well, we started in June, and we interviewed 3 others that were in this, within the area. In fact, there's even one from Alabama who wanted to take it by railroad and whatnot. And this was, and we also hired an attorney, for the consortium did, with the, who specializes in contracts with solid waste people. And this was right on track. The $64 was right on track. There was one company, I think, it was toward the Cape area, who was going to go $58 a ton. But now we had, but that, that was just for the, once it was delivered to them. But now,
Yeah, we would
the
have
cost,
the delivery charge.
you know, the
would have
delivery
been-
charge would have made it right
We did-
around
we
the
did-
same.
Again, the negotiating team, and I can speak because we were on it, it consisted of about 8 communities, including Milford. And we did look thoroughly at different options and different companies. And this is why Wheelabrator knew that we were doing this, and this is why they agreed to this $64.
See, what they didn't want to lose was Milford, Newton, and Worcester, because they're a waste-to-energy plant, and they need as many tons as you could possibly give them. The less tons, you know, it would kill them. And then all the planets seemed to line up just so then, too, because right at the time, Wheelabrator sold. Waste Management owned it, and they sold it to another company. And when they sold it, they had the amount of tonnage that they were using prior to our negotiation. So they really needed these towns, or else the sale would have probably
Yeah,
not
it was
have gone
part of-
through
yeah,
either.
It was part of their sale that the tonnage would stay the same. So that's why they were pressured to negotiate with us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I had a similar question to Al, that did you go out and get a sense for what the market was? Because
Yes.
obviously,
Yeah.
you know, Wheelabrator didn't want to go down, but I'm sure they've said that to keep the business, plus, you know, where market is, and they got the market, so,
Right.
which is very good, so it was a very good result. Follow-up point, though, just in terms of recycling, and I don't know if, you know, we talked about this in the past, or you've mentioned it, but weren't we gonna go to like one bin for recycling, one container, that you put the paper and the
Yep.
bottles
Well, we-
all kind of together and,
We looked at that, and we're still looking at it, but that has its cost.
yeah,
We also have, in our contract now, where you can put one large item out each week,
yeah.
and it's picked up for nothing. That would have been gone. We would have had to give that up. There were a few other changes. So we haven't formally taken a vote on that yet, but personally, I am opposed to it.
Yeah, I was just looking at it as a way to increase the amount of recycling, because it's, you know, one bin is certainly a lot easier. Put it on wheels,
Right,
wheel it out.
and they claim it does increase recycling.
Yeah, it does,
but-
yeah.
No, that's a waste management issue that they're talking about. I know Waste Management wants to institute automatic trucks where I'm sure you've
It
seen
would
them.
save them, it would save them an additional person on every
Yeah.
truck.
What happens is they come by with the trucks and they have these claws that reach out, grab the thing and dump it in, but it means that everybody has to have different containers and, you know, a lot of us have those containers already, and then they would have to buy them, and so it'd be a cost for the town, so
It's-
they're
Yeah,
still
there are a lot of variables
Yeah,
that would come
they're-
into play.
Yeah,
it's-
okay.
It's
That's
complex.
fine.
There's
Yeah.
some
Get a heads up,
pluses,
we
but
will.
there's also some
We
minuses.
still have a lot of interviewing to do with them
Yeah,
before we.
no, I just want to see if it was ongoing.
Yeah, they have to still meet with us and come up with a concrete plan, not only on how they're gonna do it, what are they gonna do with our bulk items, and what it's actually gonna cost us. And not only that, but should the town buy the bins, or should they buy the bins? Because now if they buy the bins, they own them. So if they lose a contract in 3 years, they take those bins away. So that's something too that
Yeah.
we gotta,
and then
we gotta
And
look
then
at.
the town would have to
Bins aren't
pick
that,
up.
that cheap, they're expensive.
But wait a minute, this contract
This is from Wheelabrator.
is as is.
Yes.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with.
That's Wheelabrator.
That's Wheelabrator.
That's what I'm
Wheelabrator.
saying.
Right.
Anything we negotiated,
No, you're talking
Two different
two
companies.
different things. That's Wheelabrator. That's where the trash
the
is
disposal.
incinerated.
right?
But this is not where the delivery, the pickup.
The pickup.
The pickup
Waste
is with
management.
Republic Services now. They changed the name
But
again.
we're not planning in the budget, I guess my point is, on any changes.
No,
No,
The budget we have is as is.
oh, sure,
yes.
yeah.
So, and if they're saving a lot of money, I would hope the great negotiating team would claw some of that back.
Exactly.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because there is gonna be disruption,
Right, right.
you know.
Great.
I just had one other thing that I asked Kenny to talk about, if you had a moment,
Right.
is the transfer station. How we doing on the transfer
Extra
station?
funds.
We haven't seen a P and L from the transfer station in a while, that's why.
The Board of Health meeting, we meet twice a month. They have one each month, so what I'll do is I'll make sure I get one in your mailbox.
When you do the budget for next fiscal year, you used to give us a P and L, a
Yeah.
proposed P and L,
Yeah,
so.
I have one twice a month, and
I'd just like to see it
Sure,
going
sure.
forward over the next
Okay.
year, so. Because I know we're doing okay, just, and I know you guys have work to do down there still.
Right.
And I believe there's still money sitting in your account
In the
or the
account.
account that we set aside for the profits on that.
right.
to do some work, so.
Right.
All right, I'm good. Anybody else?
Yeah, no?
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Great
Thank you.
job.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
it.
Thanks a lot.
Ken, thank you, Paul.
All right, next up is Chuck, tree warden. Reason we asked you to come in, Chuck, is back in October, for the October town meeting, we voted $2,500 to remove some trees at the Purchase Street Cemetery. And there was some questions from this group about why. I mean, you gave them a quote of over $9,000 to do it, and they went local and got somebody to do it for $2,500. The biggest question this board had was, you have a budget.
Right.
And those trees, I would assume, are town trees. They're on town property. Purchase Street Cemetery is town,
Well, that's
town
what I was
property.
gonna,
So I didn't expect to see a quote. I expected that you go over there and take down those trees. I think that's what everybody on this committee expected to hear. Instead of his name was Paul, right? Lovell?
Level.
Came to us and asked for money to do it, that extra money, which didn't make any sense. We gave it to him, but it just didn't make any sense. So that's why I'd like you to explain if you can.
okay, I'll be happy to. In the past, especially in 2011, just prior to the hurricane and the ice storm, we were into August, and then we had the hurricane and then the ice storm in October. And you had asked me why I had spent money out of my budget in other departments, and you had cautioned me against doing that.
I'm sorry.
You didn't want me to spend money from the tree department budget for other departments.
No, but I wanted you to take down, I think we want you to take down trees that belong to the town and
You
do
just
the
asked
job
me
you're supposed
why.
to do.
So that was the reason. And it's also my understanding that $5,000 a year is put into the cemetery for maintenance.
No, not that cemetery. That's Vernon Grove Cemetery. We're talking about the North Purchase
North
Street.
Purchase Cemetery, but I checked with the town accountant, he said there's $5,000 a year gets
And that-
put into there.
In the Parks Department to clean up the leaves.
Okay.
All right, had nothing to do with trees or any of
Do
that stuff.
trees,
That
okay.
was for cutting grass, that was
It
the
was
year.
grass
we put
and-
in
and
grass,
cleaning up the leaves.
That had nothing to do with tree
Nothing to do with tree.
And
at all.
none of the money that was approved at the October town meeting has shown up in my budget and went into the park department's budget.
Right. And they were gonna
That
take
was
down
for the
trees.
trees?
Yeah. They asked for separate money to take the, Paul Lovell and asked for separate money to go in and have these trees taken down.
Okay.
Because you gave him a quote of $9,900 and he got it for $2,500, $2,200. And again, this board wanted to understand the tree warden's responsibility to take down trees that belong to the town.
Right.
And these belong to the town, they're on town property, so we didn't expect to see a quote or extra money being spent. We expected to see the trees being taken down and never even come to town meeting. I think that's what everybody on this board agreed to see.
I remember two separate questions. One is exactly what you're saying as to why a town tree was not taken care of by the town
By the town tree warden.
But the second thing
The amount of
that and I'll admit, I was concerned, is that Jeff Lovell gets a quote, 25% of what he was given as an official quote by the town. That is concerning, because there's gotta be something different.
Yeah, that quote I don't know who gave the quote, never saw it, know nothing of it. However, we have a company that we put out to bid, and those are their rates, and for the time it would take to do the work, that's what the number would come out to be.
But if I may, Mr. Chairman, but the quote that you got from our preferred vendor was $9,000?
I think we need to change our preferred vendor.
That's my point. I guess where I'm stuck is that if a local vendor is giving us, and I'm not here to question your judgment or anything, our preferred vendor gives us $10,000,
Right.
and a local vendor gives us 2.5, I'm like,
I
something
would
doesn't
have
feel
to
right.
see, I would have to see the quote and the scope of the work that he
And
quoted
that's what
on.
I'm saying. I don't
I have
understand.
it's almost impossible, it is impossible for any legitimate company to do that kind of work.
That's a fair question.
No, but,
You need to compare apples with apples.
Right.
and that's why we wanted you to have, whatever it was, 2 months to look at it and come back and tell us, hey, by the way, the $10,000 quote included five
Right,
things.
right.
The $2,500 quote included one, or the $2,500 quote doesn't meet town, if we have insurance regulations, if we have things.
Right, does this company have workers' comp, is it legit?
Absolutely.
And Chuck, with all due
Question that I would
respect,
have.
we're asking you.
We had no
I
idea.
wouldn't know, because I
As the
don't know
tree
who gave the
poobar,
quote.
we're hoping that you'll look at those two.
Yeah,
and
I'd
come
love
back
to,
and tell
I'd
us.
love to see that quote. As soon as I can get my hands on it, I will compare it.
Because one of two things, as Chris mentioned, either we're not asking the right question and we're getting 75% higher rates, or we're not.
This was for several trees, stumps, being ground out, loamed and seeded,
Yeah.
as well as, the
Again,
rest
Chuck,
of the trees being pruned.
without speculating,
Right,
I
right.
would submit, Mr. Chairman, that we'll ask you, if you could in the next month,
Sure.
look at both of them and come back and tell us what's the difference.
Where can I get a copy of the quote?
Well, I would think Jeff Lovell.
Jeff
Would've
Lovell,
had to
town
submit
accountant.
it.
They haven't taken care of the work yet.
But you
No,
should,
but
you
the
should,
quotes, Jay.
but you should have a quote on file, no? Or you can get one from Jeff.
I can get one.
Yeah,
there you go.
Zach, I mean.
Town accountant will
He's
have
got
it.
quotes.
I can get it.
Yeah, I'd have to have the quote to do any kind of comparison whatsoever.
But
Because that's not really, for the scope of work there, that would not, they wouldn't be able to perform that kind of work.
Even if it's 25% or 50% of the work, we would at least want to be able to compare
Right,
apples.
right.
Maybe it's half the work, but still, we could go down by 25% if it's only half the work. We need to look at what you were quoting for 10,000 and what they got done for 2,500.
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
And I think I remember him saying that he could cut back on some of the items, and that may have been how we got to 25. But again, without spending any more, any more
Yeah, this is-
oxygen on this, let's just.
it was a matter of taking care of a hazardous situation with some trees, basically.
Those trees are still there.
I was just gonna say, I thought Zach said it hasn't been done yet.
It hasn't been done yet.
Right.
When you brought it up to me, I drove through there. There's been nothing done.
So the critical safety issue that we allocated extra money to.
In October.
Has not been touched.
Wasn't so critical?
Oh, it's critical. It's,
Well, it's not just that. I mean, I thought the reason was,
That it was gonna fall on somebody's
it's a
head.
safety issue. We don't
Right.
want a resident,
Right.
and 4 months later, yeah, we have to look at this. That,
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think it begs the question, who is providing us this information? And they ought to have their feet brought to the fire. You told us it was an emergency, we agreed with you, we funded it, and it's not done?
I will,
What
I will-
gives?
I will be in touch with
It's just
Mr.
management.
Lovell. Yep.
Back to your comment. This is the tree warden. He's responsible for taking care of the trees in the town. So why don't he go back and do the tree work that needs to be done?
I'll be happy to have the work done. That's, the company
That's-
is
that's-
under contract. to
That's
us.
my understanding of the
Right.
tree warden's responsibility. So I think it's incumbent upon you to go address this situation,
I will.
probably before the next meeting.
but not at 10 grand.
That's exactly right.
Well, I don't,
I don't care what he spends.
I don't
That's not,
think-
I don't,
it's
I
in
don't
his
think
budget
that's
to
an
take care of
issue.
his tree.
That's not the
From,
issue.
that's not the issue from our point
You
of
made the
view.
point in the beginning. It's his job to take care of the trees.
And I agree, and that's why I think we were all taken aback to discuss even talking about taking down trees at the town meeting with a special.
But that goes back to your comment to me for cautioning me not to go spend money for other departments.
No, but, no,
What other
no,
departments?
no.
Well, I've,
think that's a
back in,
misunderstanding.
then
I
we were
think-
spending
Chuck.
money for the park department on trees
Chuck,
and.
I think you misunderstood. I'm pretty sure you did. The trees that you're responsible for in this town
Right.
are town property, town trees.
Right.
Regardless of whose auspices the acreage comes under. If,
That-
for instance, if it's on the trail,
Right.
okay, that's town property.
It's not, but the way that the Mass General Law statute reads, responsible for the street trees, except, all trees in the town except those under the care and control of the park department. That's the state statute.
Okay, if that's what it is,
Care and
that's what it is.
control of the Parks Department.
So if it's in a park, he doesn't.
Well, no,
No,
any
then
properties
he
that are
gets
under
the
there.
charge, then he gets the charge the
Charge
department for
back.
taking it down. I understand that.
Right. So these are under, that particular property is not under the care and control of the park department, even though they put money there?
No, that property, the way I understand that property is under the care and control of the town. The Parks Department just rakes the leaves.
we subcontracted essentially the Parks Department.
Rake the
do the
leaves.
work.
We asked Mike Brashani, what would it cost to do leaves and grass?
That's all.
And we gave him the money to do leaves and grass. It wasn't, we never, if my memory serves, if it serves right, we never moved cemeteries under parks.
No.
We just said, go cut the grass and
Right,
get
and
rid of the leaves.
Well, the
Because the
statute
people
is all properties under the care and control of the park department.
So the cemetery
So
is
the bike
not.
trail, you brought up the bike trail, that's under their care and control. I would not have any jurisdiction there.
no, but if they asked you to cut a tree down, then you would charge them to do it.
Right.
And
Right.
I understand that.
Yes,
It would
they
be a
would fund it,
cross-charge.
they would fund it, and we would, yes.
Totally get that.
And that's my point of,
And that's
don't
what
go
I'm
out
asking
tomorrow and
here.
spend 10 grand cutting down a tree till you know why the other guy was 2,500.
Yeah, but more to the point, the North Purchase Street Cemetery is under nobody's control at this point in time.
It's a
We
town
haven't.
property. It's town property.
No, it's under,
it-
That's what we
Comes
talked about
under
last
his
meeting, about who we're
jurisdiction.
gonna put it
Because-
under.
Well,
And it falls under his
it's
responsibility.
not a park,
but.
It's
but-
general town.
But his argument is that because the Parks Department cleans up the leaves and cuts the grass,
He wants to build a park.
it's under their
Well,
jurisdiction.
but then, if that was true, the school would come under the parks, because the Parks
Make it
Department
more
cuts their
confusing.
grass.
Yeah, so
More
it's just-
confusing.
there is no, that cemetery is under the jurisdiction of the town.
Okay.
All right, it's not under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department. They have money to clean up the leaves and cut the grass, that's all they have to do. And the only reason they have that is because the people that used to do it are long gone. They passed away, they're buried in that cemetery. And we got complaints 5 years ago, I got phone calls, that on Veterans Day, people went up there on Memorial Day and the place was a mess. The leaves were all over the place, the grass was never cut, and we said that's unacceptable. As a committee, we said, that's unacceptable to the town, to treat town people like that are buried there. So we gave the Parks Department money, we asked them if they would do it, they said yes, this is what it would cost, we said, fine, here's the money in your budget, please cut the grass and rake the leaves and keep the place neat. That's all we asked them to do,
Yeah,
right?
next.
That's all.
It's an in-house job.
Right.
We just used our own people.
Yeah, yeah.
To take care of something.
Exactly.
It's a transfer of money.
So
within
when
house.
this all came up in October, this committee said that we would take on deciding who has jurisdiction over the North Purchase Street Cemetery and how we're going to maintain that budget and take care of that. We
That's
haven't
fine.
done that yet.
Oh, okay.
But at this point in time, it's still town property.
Property, which I have no problem with, but again, I'd go
Right.
back to what
So
was.
ask Zach for the,
told.
Zach will
So the
send you.
2,500 will be transferred over to the tree department then?
No, the $2,500 won't be spent. You take it out of your $67,000 that's left in your budget.
Okay,
Yeah,
Right.
that's fine.
there's no need to add money, because it comes under Chuck anyway.
Mark, what comes out of this meeting is a clarification of what we understand the tree warden's responsibility are to take care of the trees that belong to the town.
We understand that.
Okay, except for what you brought to our point by statute, those.
And we understood
of
that
the
as well.
Parks Department.
Yes.
That was clear.
We'll
Okay.
do, and we have done that in the past. There has been requests back, well, several years now,
Right.
where the park department put 20,000 over and we had all the work taken care of.
Correct. All right, we're done. Zach will give you a copy of the
I think we have
bid,
clarification.
okay?
Right.
You can look at that, and we'd like those trees taken down. And if you want to come back next month and talk to us and give us a report on what was done and what the difference was and why, we'll be happy to have you on the agenda next month as well.
That's fine. I'll be
Okay.
glad to.
Awesome.
All right, we'll get that taken care of then.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Scotty,
Mark, I'm glad we got that cleared up. Good job.
Well, I mean, there's still an open question.
the question still remains that we have to take on is what do we do with the North Purchase Street Cemetery and under whose jurisdiction do we put it?
Well,
And how do we, and budget-wise, and how do we manage it?
Trees are taken care of by
That,
the
that,
tree warden.
that's still the issue.
I understand, but the question for me is, we had an individual who came in here and told us it was an emergency.
Well, we'll take care of that as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll take care of that as well.
Yes.
Yes. we
You know,
absolutely-
everyone in this
We
room.
totally get
has
it.
always been sensitive.
Yep.
When the word emergency is
Yep.
used, 99 and 9/10 of
I
the time, we
will invite Mr. Lovell into the meeting next month
support the
to
individual.
talk to that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you know,
Yes, sir.
regarding this whole matter, would it make sense for the subcommittee to work with Mr. Lovell
Which
as well?
subcommittee?
Do we have
the thing.
nothing for tree? It's got,
General government.
No,
general
no.
government's gotta be. Because it would make sense that a lot of these questions and definitions would be better dealt with at a subcommittee level.
The tree warden issue is statute. We know what the statute is. Okay, that was clear.
But it does seem like someone should be working with him.
I will,
That's my
yeah,
next question, who's in charge of the subcommittee?
I am.
There you go.
No, but this
tree
was all
warden
set, that's
comes
why, he was coming to the next meeting, so that's why we didn't meet with him.
Right.
Okay.
Because he was supposed to be at the December meeting.
Right.
Which he didn't come to,
November meeting.
November meeting, excuse me.
All right. We have a couple things that we have to work on. We will work on them.
Okay, yeah.
We don't have anything else to do this year anyway, so we might as well do this. What the heck?
Sell the water company, running.
Well, that's next. All right. Scotty's here to talk about a project that he has, or a proposal.
There's 5 copies of some information, so you guys can pass it around. So we're gonna talk about new leaf trucks. You know, with the talk of the new school and we're trying to push everything back, the leaf trucks are actually on the FY16 capital plan. Which FY16 works, but I wanna try to get this done before the next leaf season. So, 4 to 5 months to build a truck. But anyways, let me just get into it. Our leaf trucks now are getting old, they're getting tired, they're taking extra time to pick up the leaves, weeks. You know, we finished Christmas time this year. I know the weather was bad, but the trucks just are very tired. They're very cumbersome, they're just too big for the job they're doing, that's not what they're designed to do. With the size of the leaf program now, they can't keep up with it. You know, and to try to push this for another 5, 6 years and keep getting it done is getting difficult. I don't think we can do it.
So we should eliminate the leaf program.
Well, that's a good idea. But the other thing with the leaf program, what it does is it gives us our credits on our stormwater management because we pick the leaves up. That's a huge credit for us.
Credit, what kind of credit?
Towards our stormwater permit every year.
A financial credit?
No. Credit saying we're doing what we're supposed to do for
So
stormwater.
it's not a financial, it's an attaboy credit.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a-
Wait, I got a bunch of those in my thing right here. No problem, attaboy, good job.
Good job.
We don't care about attaboy.
Congratulations.
We don't want to go backwards in that department because we keep moving ahead in stormwater, and that's a huge issue, that we use that, like I said, every year for our permitting, and that you can't, I'm not saying we can't do it, but I don't think it would look right if we did away with it at this point. Not to mention, it is a great service, and I enjoy it myself, so.
It is a great service, there's no question.
Mark, can you explain that short explanation about the stormwater credits? Is that because we do good, we get,
Well, they want you,
Eliminating the merits?
they want the leaves picked up. The leaves hold the phosphorus, which is going into the rivers and the lakes. So when you pick them up, you take away the phosphorus out of the rivers. That's what it's all about, simple as that. Without getting into huge detail.
so there's another reason we pick up leaves that we
Yes.
didn't even know about.
Right. And over the years, it became a good thing.
Now I'm confused. We pick up the leaves, we take them to Asylum Street, we compost them, we put them back on our lawns, and it goes, so how is the phosphorus eliminated?
You're out of water.
Yeah. Just stop there.
You're out
Because I
of
don't want
order.
to get into the details of
Let's
this.
not get into the science of it, okay?
Okay, I just,
We don't need to,
We'll have the
not
EPA
enough
come to your
scientists
house.
around
We'll
this
have the
table.
You kind of ruined that whole thing, didn't you?
I just,
So putting them in my backyard just doesn't quite work.
Well, let them blow around in, you know, in.
Wherever they land, they land.
Worse
Got
than,
it.
you know,
Okay.
down the basins and the drainage system and all that.
Yeah, no
It's-
problem. All right,
we
so
gotta fix it.
talking
So,
about the leaf truck.
we get it.
Anyways, like I said, the trucks are getting old, and I don't, you know,
You
I
just bought those, right, 2 years ago?
think they're 14 years old, 13 years.
How long you been the highway surveyor?
This is my 7th year,
7th year.
yeah. And I think we had them for 10 years before
Thought
that.
he bought
Mark's
them.
only been complaining about the program for 12 years, so he forgets it.
They're 2000, so 14 years, 15 years going on. So, like I said, they're not really leaf trucks. If you look through that package, I explained it a little bit. But they're actually catch basin cleaners that we converted to pick up leaves. They're very heavy-duty, oversized, overkill trucks for what we do for them. In today's technology, they have trucks that are much smaller, much quicker, grind leaves, carry twice the capacity at half the price. Now, we paid $175,000 a piece for those back in 2000. A truck today, brand new, is $100,000.
the catch on the truck is, it's 100,000 because back in 2006, they came out with Tier 4 emissions for all diesel trucks. Tier 4 emission trucks cannot idle. This truck would be idling all day long. You're just putting down the street, picking up leaves. So what happens is your engine has to recycle. It takes its 12 to 20-minute process for the truck to stop. It goes through a whole recycle process, clears out the particulate filters, and it's ready to go again. And that'll happen every hour on the hour. So they do not recommend a brand-new truck. So we can get a pre-2006 vehicle, reconditioned, low mileage, because they're usually sweeper cabin chassis, low mileage, right-hand drive. It has to be a right-hand drive. You can get the cabin chassis for $30,000, $40,000 rather than $100,000. So that's where the huge savings is. The other reason for the rush is those trucks are getting harder to find because everybody who needs one is grabbing them. You know, you could have a sweeper for 20 years and only put 30,000 miles on it, very low mileage. But like I said, they're reconditioned and they're basically a new truck with some miles on it. And they put a brand new sweeper unit on it, paint it whatever we want. It'll look like a brand new truck. You'd never know the difference. And the mileage that we put on these trucks, I think each truck has 21 to 22,000 miles on it in 14 years. That's nothing. So a truck with 30,000 miles, to put another 20 on it is no big deal. So as far as the used truck goes, the reconditioned truck, to me, it's not a big deal. I think it's worth doing. Rather than spending another $100,000 on a new cabin chassis and another $60,000 on a leaf pickup, now you're a $160,000, $175,000 truck. We don't need to do that. We can get away with the used cabin chassis and keep it around $100,000. The other bonus, I think, is the trucks we have. I think they're worth probably $20,000 to $30,000 a piece. So there's a trade-in value or an auction value, and kind of tough to get the higher trade-in value. I've been talking to a few companies. I think the way to do this is put them out to public auction, but advertise it nationwide, because that's a truck you'd use on the other side of the country. It's not made for our catch basin cleaning. It's made for California and dry areas. So if we were to put out the auction, that's what I would do. I would, spend a little money advertising and put it out around the country and try to get the max money for it. So if we could get, 20 to 30,000 for each truck, that comes off the price of the truck basically too.
So these trucks that you want are they actually grind the leaves and they run faster, and do they have a big hose on it that sucks up all these leaves?
Similar to what we use now, except our hose is over the front of the truck. It takes two guys to operate it because you have a driver, and then you have a passenger. The passenger can see what's going on. Our trucks weren't set up correctly. They should have been right-hand drive. But that was 14 years ago. So the new truck is a right-hand drive. The driver drives the truck and sucks the leaves. It's a one-man operation. And you have a ground guy. You have to have a ground guy because you got to rake, you got to move rocks, or whatever you got to do. So right now, we have a driver, an operator, and a ground guy in two vehicles, the leaf truck and a pickup truck, because the other guy has to get around also. That's where raking the leaves. So we do away with that other truck also. He can drive in the leaf truck. So there's all kinds of things that make this better. Just fuel usage alone, 10 to 15 gallons in 8 hours. Right now, we're doing 35 to 40 gallons in 8 hours. So the fuel savings is just huge. You're talking an 80 horsepower engine in the new truck, I think ours is 160 right now. It just guzzles down the fuel. It's way, way overkill.
What about natural gas truck?
I don't think that's an option. Maybe for the sweeper, if we could find one, but to find a used sweeper that just happens to be natural gas with a low mileage, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
What's the cost of a new natural gas? That's the big switch.
Yeah, I don't even know. I would think the truck is still gonna be, a $100,000 cabin chassis for a new truck. It's not gonna be much, I don't think it'll be any savings compared to a diesel, or maybe a gas would be less money, but that's even hard to find.
No, I wasn't thinking diesel or gas, either one. I was actually thinking.
I don't really see the need for a new truck, honestly. There's no reason to have it.
Bobby?
Yeah, Scott, just
Oh, I'm sorry.
quick question. What data have you collected that'll show that we are gonna increase our efficiency by 100%? I mean, it's a laborious process, and we're gonna cut that in half with just this truck It's gonna be that much quicker?
It'll be close, because first of all, both trucks are 20-yard hoppers. They'll carry 20 yards of leaves.
Okay.
The trucks we use now being a basic vacuum system like your home vacuum.
Right, understood,
You have a fan on one side, brings all the air through, creates a vacuum.
right?
What happens in that system is you have a screen, and that screen gets clogged, your vacuum power gets cut way down
Right.
until it won't vacuum at all.
Right.
And that happens on these trucks we have now, probably with half a load in them, 10 yards, and they can't suck anymore. They just,
Have you, it just, I don't wanna say questionable, but it's hard for me to believe that you can double your efficiency through the use of this truck.
Well, like I
And
said,
if you've other towns that have done it, that's fine. but-
this truck has a 20-yard hopper also, but it will grind the leaves and has no way of clogging up until it's completely full and it can't fit anymore. So its capacity alone,
Is the time element,
I don't think it's quite 50%. I don't think I said that anywhere along the
well,
line.
it
but-
says you can do it with one truck as opposed to two.
Oh, no, still two trucks.
You do with two people instead of
Oh,
three.
I'm
And
sorry.
eliminate
It's still
the
two
truck.
trucks.
I was looking at that,
No, you eliminate
no
the,
leave, two employees, one truck.
right, as opposed to
Okay.
three employees, two trucks.
Scratch those comments.
So we're going from 6 employees to 4 and
Okay.
two trucks.
All right, that,
Trucks
I'm
instead of
sorry,
four.
I misread it.
Yeah.
The way it was stated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely more efficient, there's no question.
Okay, all right, okay,
It's-
I understand,
it's-
yeah.
You know, if you ever saw one run, or you guys never touched one, obviously, but when you just go lift the vacuum on the truck we have now, it's literally this slow. I mean, you can barely see it moving,
Yeah.
just to lift it,
Yeah.
and you're waiting for that thing to lift. This
You
truck,
know, and there is a discharge there many times when it does get clogged.
Mm-hmm.
The particles of leaves are everywhere, you know?
yeah, because what you have is you have that one vent that lets the air come out of the fan.
Right.
And originally that had screens on it, and they get clogged.
Sure they do.
So it's not set up to do what we were doing. We took the screens out. What you'll see, if you ever drove through Hopedale and saw them pick up their leaves, that there's leaves everywhere. When they're done, there's a trail of particles all the way down the street, because it grinds them and puts them in a big hopper with an open top.
You've answered my question. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. DeVito, thank you for getting Scott to be 50% more efficient than he was before.
I tried.
I thought it was,
I
thought it was a great question. Scott, just help me with a couple of things. A replacement truck, a brand-new truck is $235,000?
For the trucks we have now. If we were to replace exactly what we have,
All right, so, but, all right, say we were gonna get a new version of a
Brand new
06
version of what we have.
06 truck, yeah.
95,000.
well, no, that would be a used cab and
That's a
chassis.
used, it's 100.
A new version's about 160.
Okay.
Okay, so a new version is 160 versus the 95, okay. All right, I just wanted to get a sense. The other thing, is, you know, federal regulation, literally, I mean, who's gonna buy these new trucks if you can't idle the trucks? How does that? I mean,
It doesn't, that's not so much for the trucks we have now. The trucks we have now, I mean, what do you,
No, the brand new of the new model.
oh, you're saying if you bought the new
160.
model with the
Yeah, I
new
mean,
truck? They say they tell you flat out, we have a ton of headaches with it. The trucks have to stop every so often, they gotta regenerate, it just takes a lot of time. I deal with that now in all our new equipment. Plowing snow, we have to stop the trucks and sit for 20 minutes and let them regenerate. It's tough. But these trucks literally will be idling, you know, all day. I mean, it can be done, but you have to take the time to regenerate the truck.
Yeah, okay, I can see why you'd wanna buy an older version, for sure, but, okay, that's all I have.
Not the, you know, I care about the environment and all, but this particular application, I just don't think, you know, it's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. They tell you that flat out. They tell you right up front. Try to get a, you know, a tier 3 emission truck rather than a tier 4.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
I think that brings up, to me, is one of the highlight of the points, is the availability of those other trucks is gonna start to quickly disappear, because everyone has the same thought that with having to recharge them and how long it takes to do that versus having a vehicle, you're not gonna be able to find those later. I mean, if we decide to do something 2 years from now like this, I mean, you're gonna have a really hard time finding those trucks.
Yeah.
So between that and the savings on fuel, manpower, I think this is a great idea. You pointed out.
I'm sorry. I was reading the,
Quick one, so we had put in the long-term plan 320. So this would be 200 instead of 320. But your idea would be to bring it into July instead of a year from July, correct?
Right, as soon as possible.
So I would say we have to look at what we have scheduled for next year, which is July, and see, I mean, this is 20% of our entire capital. I think it's a great idea. I love the idea for all the reasons. I don't want to go through them again. But the fundamental question is, we got $1 million. Let's see what we can move around, if it's possible, because we may be able to push something back from 16 to 17 and switch it. If we can, then it just becomes an argument on merit, not on financial availability.
That's something you guys have to work on, because obviously people that have stuff on the docket for next fall are gonna want their stuff, because they might in fact have waited, and we've
Right.
already done the pushback.
So I would say we'll come back as a subcommittee next month. Now, the other question is, I keep hearing that 2 trucks, we can't really get through the whole town comfortably.
Right now, no.
With the new trucks, do we eliminate, because my biggest fear is you're gonna come back and say, if you wanna suck leaves for the whole town, we need 3 trucks. With the extra efficiency, I mean, granted, that gives you 2 extra people, that's like 4 people months of extra labor that you're saving.
I also hire part-timers to rake the leaves, because I need my guys this time of year to, or that time of year,
Doing
to
other
do
things.
other things that we have to finish.
So now
I
my
actually hire
question,
laborers so that I
those
don't have to-
extra people you bring in, since you've got 2 guys who used to drive around the trucks, will you not hire some of the day laborers because you'll have extra people?
I can do it that way, absolutely.
Well, I'm just asking, Scotty, you got 2 guys that were tied up for 6 weeks, so that's 3 months of labor all of a sudden given to you. Can we expect to see the I don't know what you call them, the contractors, day laborers, cut down by 3 months?
Yeah, plus he
At
gets
least-
suck up twice as much in this.
At the worst case, I would have 1 rather than 2. I don't know, without running one of these trucks constantly, knowing the labor, from what I've seen, the video I've watched, and some of the people I've talked to, is they're very maneuverable. They say don't need a guy on the ground. But my fear is you suck up a big rock and you put it through a fan, we gotta stop
No,
that
but
before it happens.
You're saying what your plan counts on is 2 people, not 3. So by definition, 1 person on each leaf sucker is free to do other Scotty stuff.
Yes.
So you don't have to bring in people, so the subcommittee chair can look for savings in that line item.
Yeah, my salaries.
Plus,
Temporary help. Say,
Plus-
Yeah, the temporary help.
Temporary help line
plus he
item.
said these are much more efficient and they'll run faster, so instead of taking 6 or 8 weeks to do it, it may take
Mark,
4.
that would be the cherry on the ice cream,
That
but
would
if,
be,
if
uh,
nothing else,
It holds twice as much.
if he gets it done
Right.
and saves 2 people for 3 months, okay, 6 weeks times 2, 3 months, then we can see 3 months of temporary work
No,
not
it's temporary.
required.
It's temporary help
Yeah.
he has on us.
But it'll offset some of the costs. is the
Yes.
point.
It'll help us justify some. I have
Good.
I just want to sharpen the numbers up with you a little, if you don't mind. $100,000 each for the truck.
Yes.
Total of $200,000 up front, which you need, excuse me, from the capital budget or town meeting. But the net, after we get all done, is going to be less the salvage value or the used value of the truck of somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. Am I safe to
Each.
save?
Per truck.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna use 25, so my net out of pocket for the town is 150. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd say 150 to 160.
Okay.
I'm being as,
If you
conservative as I
get-
can,
if
'cause
you
I
get
really
it-
don't
If you
know.
get 2 new trucks for 150, you've done a hell of a job.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think you've done a hell of a job.
That's why
I'm-
this-
I'm not here to hold your
Yeah.
feet to the fire to 150. If it takes 155 or 160, I think we're still gonna be happy. I like the way this is put together.
I mean,
gentlemen.
basically, we
I
have 2
really do.
trucks for the price of 1 if it
This-
works
this-
out the way we want it.
This is a hell of a plan. You've done a great job. You
And the
really have.
savings every single year between fuel and manpower, it's
In
just,
fact,
Again,
with the
that's a
manpower.
cherry on the ice cream.
So I'm gonna use a 50,000 as a salvage value and hope we make it, okay?
40 to 50, I think is a good number.
Okay.
Cool?
Cool. I don't know how we,
There's nothing to proceed. This was informational only, and it's gotta go through the capital.
Just give us a month to go back.
Right.
And come back and recommend to
now,
the
gotta
committee.
talk to the
I don't
other
know if I
people.
should what other items do you have on the capital plan?
The only other thing I have is our stormwater mapping, the 100,000 for stormwater mapping.
We're committed to that, right?
Not
Kind of
yet,
been, yeah, but we got 100,000 into it right now.
not committed yet.
I'm hoping the good news is, we originally thought 325 for the whole mapping, but we think it's gonna be a little less than that. So,
So we got some wiggle room.
I think we do, but not
Okay.
sure yet.
Good.
All right,
This is good news.
thanks, Scotty.
Good job.
We had one other item on the agenda we wanted to talk about.
Scott, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
I don't have this totally filled up with,
You want to talk about that?
no, on next meeting,
Okay,
you just gave it to me the other day.
all right.
All right.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. All right, next item that I had on the discussion, since it being January, is FY 16 budget.
Scary,
15, 16, whatever the number's gonna be.
scary.
Next year's budget,
16.
yeah. I don't know, Zach's here, I don't, and Paul's here, I don't know if we heard anything yet from the State House on where their budget is. I know that there were some major issues, cuts were being made and given back, but I have no idea where we are for this fiscal year. And we have no clue about where we're gonna be for next fiscal year. And being the only liberal Democrat on the committee, it's a Republican governor, and the last time we had a Republican governor, we took a $3 million hit. So I'm hopeful that that's not gonna happen again this year. So my preliminary budget discussion is we should keep looking at where the state is and where we're gonna go. I don't know what to put out at this
$500 million
point. Do we have any
short.
discussion about suggestions? Paul, you have one?
Yeah, no, just a thought, I think there was something in the news that, as a new governor, he has a period of time, they give him a little longer to come up with that first budget, which usually, it's the governor's budget at first, at sometime in January. But I
January.
think they give him some type of a longer period as the new governor, so we would expect it later than usual.
Probably April or May, right?
No,
No, no, no,
It's
no.
usually the end of
He's gotta submit a
January.
budget normally by the end of
End of
January.
January.
Yeah.
End of January.
End of January, but they'll give him 2 weeks probably to, he's probably already gotten something done anyway. Hope he does.
He's 500.
Anybody that
$500
believes we're
million.
gonna get a lot more money,
He's already talking
should
about
share what they're
Drinking.
imbibing in.
Yeah.
Because if anything, if we hold, I think we'd be doing well.
Right, so,
I don't hear anything about a surplus. I keep hearing about 500 to 700 million.
deficit.
And any way you cut that cake,
Right.
we're gonna get part of that ugliness.
Exactly. Assuming he picks it all up in 1 year. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting, I think. But I know departments are starting to plan. So I think we need to at least come out with some sort of guideline or some sort of suggestion going forward until we know more information. And I would say level up.
0, 1, or 0, 2 for preliminary,
I'd say level up.
that's 0.
Contractual salaries
No,
already.
I'd say level up. My opinion is keep it the same as you had last year and let's see where the numbers fall. I mean, contractual obligations, you may have to eat up in your own budget until we know where the governor's budget, where the budget's gonna be.
What contracts do we have
Well,
this
we're
year to cover?
negotiating a teacher's contract,
Parks and Highways being negotiated right now.
Parks and Highway,
Sewer just finished.
and, you know, we have what,
Police and fire still have another year already negotiated with increase.
right, so we know what the increases are, and I think we need to tell the department heads right now that, level funded budget.
Start looking at 0 and see what
See
the
where-
impact
See where it
is.
falls.
Hope we can hold zero.
Yeah.
Hope we
Right.
can meet that obligation at zero.
Exactly. Yes,
Is your
Zach.
committee aware of the National Grid increase?
This 58%, 38%? Yeah.
65% for our town.
What do you mean,
for
6?
municipal. It went up from a little over 4 cents to over 10 cents now. I have an analysis here from the distributed, but
Yeah.
Just dim the lights on the way over.
Well, I know we had talked earlier, Zach and Paul and Rick and I, about what the shortfall is gonna be at the end of this fiscal year for utilities or electricity. It's gonna be $1 million. And if I recall, $1,000,001.
you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
So
Zach, when does this kick in?
It did.
Already did.
So they're gonna have to, we have to tell department heads, or if, unless you already have.
Already done. We've already sent out a letter.
This went out 2 months ago.
Right.
to,
We've already sent out a
But I
letter.
guess my point is, there's no money left now to cover this.
That's correct.
So it's a double whammy, unfortunately, that you gotta cover this.
Right.
And next year, it's just gonna be uglier.
Yeah, we've already sent out a letter back in November to all department heads that the budget increase,
And so potential increase this year looks like it's gonna be a little over 200,000.
200,000.
This current year.
okay,
I heard a rumor,
we don't want to talk
this
about.
increase is only temporary.
I
I
didn't
hear that rumor.
That it would go up after this, or?
Okay, then I knew that it wasn't credible information, but I just want to make sure I wasn't.
I think what I got is that it's a negotiated contract now, you do it for 3 years.
Right.
Then, the issue with the pipeline and whatever, but I did not hear anything along those lines.
Right,
To give
and-
you a sense of the severity, if he waited any longer, we could have been looking at 20 cents, it should have been like a 200, 300.
You're negotiating now,
Right.
it's difficult.
You're negotiating what, may I ask?
Unreal.
Negotiating the,
Price per
The rate.
kilowatt hour.
Kilowatt hour.
Are we going to a non-NSTAR vendor? In other words, you can go to these other vendors that supply electricity at a lower rate.
That's correct, yeah, we need our advisor, put it out for bid.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you got, what'd you get for a kilowatt hour?
Little over 10
A little over
cents.
10 cents.
I'm paying 11, but that's good.
It's still
That, I
very-
mean, everything else, I mean, that's the only thing, that's only part of the bill. The rest of the bill doesn't, went up 38%.
Too, yeah.
You know, at the end of the day. Mike,
the
you got a
service
question?
part of the contract went up too.
Facilities.
I was wondering if part of that 37% increase had anything to do with Cape Wind, and then since recently where National Grid and N-Star supposedly backed out of that agreement,
I don't think so.
so that would have been above and beyond the 37%. When
Oh,
was
would've-
that kicked in?
It would have reduced the cost, I think. if that came-
No, it was
Oh,
more
no.
expensive to
No,
buy
yeah.
from Cape Wind, it would have gone up.
Yeah, the price was higher because.
Was higher?
Yeah.
Because of the
Oh, I
capital,
didn't know.
cost of the capital cost.
Oh, well, capital.
Kilowatt hour they were paying
You know,
was
you-
more expensive than using their current. But it was renewable, so it's kumbaya, it's green stuff, it's good stuff.
The amortization.
All right, so let me go back. So the electricity is going up for this fiscal year. The school budget is going up for this fiscal year. We have to make up some money, a lot of money for all of these students that they've incorporated that require ELL. And their budget projection for next year is going up over $500,000. So we have that, we have this, we have a couple of other items that may be coming forward in the next couple of months that we're gonna have to spend money on that we didn't plan on. And, you know, at town meeting, we put away 1.4 million. We left that on the table, hoping that we would cover a bunch of stuff with that, and I'm now concerned that, that's not gonna be enough. So, to tell the department heads to increase their budgets for next fiscal year, I think would be a, bad move, a Republican, non-conservative move. So being the liberal conservative that I am, I say we.
Liberal
Yeah, I know, exactly. I say we go and tell people right now to just level fund their budgets and see where the.
And hope.
And see where the chips fall.
Level and hope.
I would hope that we clarified that includes all contractual obligations.
Yeah, you're gonna have to eat them.
So there's no exceptions. I don't like it when we get to the exception piece of the puzzle.
Right.
And we start making.
As I said, we're gonna,
Deals.
Wait a minute,
the
the only
exceptions,
exceptions we've made forever is SPED, ELL, because the Texas kids coming
And that's not
are
gonna
out
change.
of their control.
not gonna
I
change.
made exceptions. I don't wanna go.
No, but
on
those
public
were
TV, but
always-
I'll show you where they are.
And utility increases, we understand that, and health insurance and all the things that we normally.
If we can cover utility increases.
No,
Now,
either that or we shut the lights
On
off.
the right side, our fossil fuel expenses gotta go down for gas and oil and
Well,
those
it
kinds.
should,
Okay.
but that's not the majority of the,
Yeah. I have
go ahead.
one side question.
I'm sorry, I keep
go
looking
ahead,
over
I
here.
can wait.
Go-
Yeah, just to make a point, it might be, we should be concerned. We want to see the governor's budget. But in terms of utilities for this year, don't forget, we've always generated significant free cash. And that is from, revenue and expenses.
That's not
I'm
till next year.
I'm not banking on that, I'm just telling you that there is some cushion, at least historically, that's been built into the budgets, so that, not built into the budgets, but has fallen out in free cash. So that.
I understand, and I agree, Phil, except that we don't see that free cash until October.
Yeah, so you may be.
So we're gonna have to get hit with whatever we have
Maybe
to,
a cash flow issue, but,
we gotta pay the bills.
yeah, but if we can, you have to pay the bills, but if we generate $2 million in free cash and we know that next October, that helps pay those bills, that's all.
Unless we apply it towards the youth center, the woodland.
We
Leave trucks.
have too many things on the table right now, it's a big mix, and my concern is, then you, go ahead.
Side issue, we had said in January, we'd asked a question about how the youth center's doing. Because remember, we moved money and they said they'd only use it if they needed it.
Will's at another meeting,
Could
he's
you
the
bring up
liaison.
to Willie for the next meeting, just,
Do it in February.
there's no concern, I'm just looking at our notes. We said in January, we'd check to see how they're doing. It's January.
We also asked them to look into, because it just reminded me about the electricity costs, about the possibility of putting solar panels, because of the way the building faces, it's perfect for solar panels on the top of the youth center. If we're gonna be doing it, we should do it now. So that should be another thing we should check on and see if they've
Put it on,
done anything with that.
put it on the Dear Willie letter.
February.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Other things to keep in mind, we're gonna be looking at a 12% increase on the retirement appropriation, which is mandated, so, can't level fund that one, that's right
But
off the schedule.
Health insurance, retirement, we understand those.
Yeah, okay. The other, thing to be aware of is a definite possibility that we'll be taking, $6 million long-term for the Woodland School. At the end of last year, we borrowed it short, and looking at the cash flows, it might be a wise decision to fund that portion this year. So if that happens, we will start to realize debt, and that's gonna be around $480,000 in next year's budget.
No, we won't take it out of the debt limit, we'll take it out of the stabilization account.
Yeah.
Which was the plan.
Which is the plan, yep. Just doing
It's just
plan.
1 year earlier.
That's a definite possibility there. Also, geriatric, we'll be taking long-term 6.2.
Well, they take
Yeah, but
that
that's
out.
net even.
They pay for themselves.
That's a warrant.
Right, net even.
No, I mean, Phil's point is legit.
Right.
If we have free cash and we can offset some of the debt and not hit the stabilization, it's a legitimate question to look at.
I agree, totally, except that we're talking about shortfalls possibly this fiscal year, which free cash next year is not gonna help us. That's the 1.4.
No, but we got
left on the table.
1.4 tucked away that we had said, if
But I'm
all
not sure-
goes well,
I'm not sure it's
we'll
enough.
use that for debt. If it
Correct.
can't, then
we
we got,
use it.
we
Right.
gotta
No,
look.
no, I agree, I agree.
That's the
Totally.
only point I was trying to.
Go ahead, Zach.
As far as the youth center too, we don't have to make a move, we're taking that $900,000 off till minimum October, there's nothing that needs to be done right now.
I know.
on that. We have plenty of cash flow right there, so that doesn't even need to be flattered at this point, we can revisit that.
Correct,
Cool.
correct.
Yeah, good, great.
Pray for zero.
All right, so I had,
Pay for zero.
I think that's the recommendation we're gonna put out to the department heads at this point in time. They're not gonna be happy, I know, but I don't know what else to do. And the last item I have here is, we talked about reiterating our long-term capital plan policy in October and November, and I put out a letter to the department heads,
Good.
the committee chairs, and the, what else did I say, the appointed committees as well. And the memo basically says, is intended to reiterate the process of planning major expenditures, whether they be for capital items or for expense items. For planning purposes, the items may not necessarily fall under the requirements for bonding, therefore, all expenditures that are not budgeted are to be reviewed by the Finance Committee's Capital Expenditures Subcommittee. It is important to note that all major expenditures need to be included in the department's 5-year rolling capital plan. If not included at least 2 years prior to requested funding, they will not be considered for funding during the present or next fiscal year's recommendations to town meeting, which is what we agreed to at the last meeting. As part of the process, please also note that this process will be waived for emergencies, assuming that the emergency could not have been foreseen or planned. As part of the process, all items that fall under the above criteria shall be reviewed with the chair of the department subcommittee before going to the FinCom's Capital Expenditure Subcommittee for inclusion in the town's master 5-year plan. Are there any questions?
Mark, I think the spirit is there. There was some confusion, that things like what we heard tonight. It doesn't mean that it's an absolute no.
No, doesn't mean that at
It
all.
just means that there's a higher probability of funding if you're on the plan.
Right.
But if somebody comes up like Scotty with this program to move it forward, or something new came on, like Rick when the heaters burst or whatever.
Absolutely legitimate stuff.
Yeah,
The question is, if, right.
if it's important, plan.
We understood
you said it was
what
fine.
brought
The
up
way the
this
letter
issue the
reads
last
is
time.
Right, and that's what I'm saying,
Gentlemen,
the spirit
we
is there.
We understood why we discussed this
Yep.
issue the last time, and I thought we clarified it. And I know that Zach, when they had a meeting, Rick had a meeting with all department heads, clarified it some more. And it's been on the air, and it's been discussed at a number of different places, and everybody understands it. And in the spirit of good financial planning, everybody agrees that that's what we ought to do. I have nothing else. You have one more thing?
Yeah, prior to the meeting, I had a great conversation with Al about the process, hoping he could reiterate that a little bit, of how someone would come in and how that would actually make your plan, and if someone had something that maybe can push back, how that recycles into the plan.
That was a real question, because we had a meeting tonight of the subcommittee, and I found the process, John Erickson was perfect. He came to us to give us a heads up on some software that the town is using, explaining what it does today, and the fact that in a couple years, he may need to upgrade it, and what all the options are for upgrading. Because he came to us and said, here are the 4 things that we can upgrade for. 2 of them I don't know that I will need. So I want you to know they're there, but I'm not gonna ask for money to be put aside for that. We asked him fundamentally, what is the trigger point for you to tell me you need to upgrade the software? He said, don't have one yet. But, it's in the 17 budget, and the question he brought out is, if I don't need it in 17, what happens? I said, I move it to 18. So the department head should know, this is not a use it or lose it. It's like a fire truck. When we ask the chief, can you get another year? It doesn't mean you fall off the list and you gotta wait 5 years to come back. We should be encouraging people that, like John, if he says, if I don't see the need for it next year, I'm just gonna push it back another year till I really need it. So I think what Zach is going through is the right process to say, no placeholders. You don't have to put 10 grand 3 years from now because you think you'll have something that maybe you should spend it on. They have to be legitimate items. But if they don't have to be spent in that year, you won't get penalized by pushing it to the year you need it.
And if you recall, back when we had the meeting with all the department heads, that's what we'd said. We said, no placeholders, put stuff on there that you really need, and if you don't need it that year, it moves back to where you
year.
think you need it, okay? I suggest that probably before next town meeting, sometime you have a meeting with all department heads again and go over the 5-year plan.
Well, we're scheduling every month,
So you're not.
one of the departments.
But I mean, all together as a group, so they all know,
Yep.
that they all know what's going on.
In that regard, if I may, just offer one suggestion, and I think we're all cognizant of this now. When someone comes in and says, I'm gonna retire this truck and I need a new one, we retire it.
Right.
We retire it. It doesn't have a miraculous recovery and come back for a special use. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Not only do I agree, I like what we asked Scotty to say, okay, if you're putting it up for auction, now what can you plan on? 40 to 60, great. If it comes in at 38, we're not gonna scream and yell, but it ought not come in at 0 because we're tucking it away
Right.
on Depot Street or something.
If it comes in at 55, we are gonna reduce the net that we have to fund
Yes.
the project.
Right, but the point being that,
We're gonna take it out of the total project.
but the point that Bob was trying to make was that when they say they're gonna retire a piece of equipment, it goes to the junkyard or gets sold.
It goes
does-
to auction. It gets.
doesn't sit in their
so we
thing
can
and
s-
gets reused for
So we
something
can
else.
sink some more money into it.
Become rescue too.
I'm good.
Well, that's pretty good
Move to adjourn.
Second.
No discussion. All in favor? Thank you. Good meeting, gentlemen. Good ladies.